Inwards, outward. Inwards, outward.
I'm Sarah Kaufman. My claim to fame was my daughter, Deb. And I think all of you know her or knew her. Tonight is a happy night for me. Probably the happiest day. Well, Friday was actually the happiest day since she left us. Because Friday, her building in Housatonic became officially the building for the Center for Peace Through Culture. And the center had a wonderful, marvelous director who recently retired. But before she retired, she found another director who, if possible, can do an even better job than Susan did. Susan Lord, our retired director. Andreas Engel. I'd like to introduce you to Andreas Engel, who never knew Deb, but fell in love with her art and her vision. And that's why they got the building, because he wants to carry on everything she did plus, plus, plus. So, Andreas, if you want to say a word or two.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Actually, I didn't come here prepared for any kind of formal speech or anything like that, but I will say I moved to Housatonic. Me and my family moved to Housatonic a few years ago, and I had passed by Deb's space many times and wondered what was going on there, but to my misfortune, I never went in there. And this through a whole sequence of events that happened recently, I just fell into this sphere of Deb Kaufman's work and her wonderful mother and family, and the philosophy that I just immediately threw myself into with Deb's work, and I mean I've been going and I've been trying to find as much as I can. I've read all her blog posts. I've looked at it all. It's profoundly inspiring to me. I mean, it really is. And the philosophy for our organization, I became director of the organization in beginning of March, I believe. The philosophy of our organization and Deb's work is so perfectly in alignment. It's just an incredible gift. So I won't say too much more about what is in the works. For sure, please come talk to me. But I will say that there's a lot of really exciting things that are coming. And it will include you all, of course. This is a wonderful thing that you have going, which is freedom of, like a safe space to talk about anything, talk about your feelings. And my hope is that the Center for Peace Through Culture is going to amplify that, to take it out. Encourage people to be inspired. If there's one takeaway from Deb's work that I can just say here right now is inspiration is the key. Through inspiration, we can do a lot collectively, both for ourselves and also to others. So, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm most interested to hear what you're all bringing to the table here tonight. So. But I welcome you to come talk to me about what our future plans are for the organization. Susan?
Would you like to just let them know Sarah's donation to the library and thanks for donating items?
Sarah's donating this what's that?
The
center is donating it.
Oh, the center's donating this via Sarah. You're in there somewhere. Is donating this piece to the library. So, and we'll find some kind of a statement to attach along with it. So.
Eileen Marcus. Always an honor to be here. Tonight, I'm going to talk about getting whacked.
Sorry. Can I just make one?
Sure.
Just because she, I'm sorry, what's her name?
Jenny.
She mentioned something very important. August, you'll be able to meet in this space for this event. I know you've all been waiting for this moment. And apologies, I think all around. I mean, there's a whole host of reasons why that hasn't been possible. Certainly from my part, there's just been a lot of logistical things that we've been having to work out. But in August, you will be able to have your IRL event in this space.
Great. I'll start with a very short little thing. Deb always told me that everything meanders to where it's supposed to be. And I think it's really special that we have met here a few weeks because it changed the temperature. It took us out of there, it took us away, and now we're really ready as a group to go back to the new center. So I think it totally happened for a reason, as Deb would say. It meandered until it found its place. So I'm Eileen Marcus, and I got whacked. William Austin Curtis, WAC, whacked me. I got broken up with. I got dumped. Nobody apologized? No. So I wrote 3 short musings about getting dumped because I do not think the relationship is salvageable, and that is the title for tonight. Okay. Salvageable. Fiddleheads. Fiddleheads used to rule this roadside, bright green tubes shooting for the sky, brownish skin, thin as rice paper, falling away, whimpering in the breeze, as leaves unfurl, signaling they are the real deal. There is no green sea this year, just a few stalks here and there that didn't exist days before. The rain, the deep temperature drops, brave plants struggling to shoot through the wet dirt and soggy leaves to show themselves. Slowly bending down, taking time to dig my feet into the uneven gravel, connecting with the vibration of the earth, feeling the ground under my feet, letting the air touch my face, bending forward from the waist, reaching out my right hand like Michelangelo painted in the Sistine Chapel. God's hand, effortless, floating, and purposeful, graceful, all in one movement towards the lonely stem. My fingers anticipating the twisting motion, the quick snap to separate the fiddlehead from its neck. My body suspended in time, waiting for the perfect moment to claim victory. I pulled back, rolling up from the tip of my head. My eyes never left the target. Solely focused on that fern, looking at it right in the center of its head. I left it to honor what was, yearning for the day when the fiddleheads rule the road again.
Thank you.
Okay. Second one is called Old Blue. Old Blue stands alone in the field. The leaves rustle against his big worn tires. He is strong and can get the job done by himself. He pulls, lifts, drags, each action resonating with his throaty roar. He likes to roar, to tell the earth he is coming, he's arriving, reshaping the landscape, opening up spaces and making the yard more expansive, until he reaches one small stump. It won't budge. He thinks, it must have deeper roots than seem possible. He doubles his efforts, tries different angles, taking it by surprise, no movement. This stump, thrown into a piece of sloping ground, the stump is so used to hanging on to live, forcing itself into position to show strength. Persisting harsh winters, sweltering summers, bears, squirrels, and ants that dog its very existence. Old Blue poked and prodded, but wasn't strong enough for the mighty stump. He huffed and puffed and grunted until he finally stood still in the forest. Majestic, tall, and proud, leaving the stump alone. The stump hunkered down and dug in until it realized this just made its world smaller, more insignificant. The years of holding on had no purpose. It wasn't going to grow anymore. It sat still through the winter, much of its life gone to the battle that is now over. And 3 is Austin. My happy urban legend shattered, or my happy country legend shattered. City girl moves to country, finds herself and finally meets her soulmate. She lets go of her old beliefs and no longer needs her mother's approval or seeks it. Boom! Love at first FaceTime. We talked every day since we met 2 years, 4 months ago, but not tomorrow. He won't be my boyfriend anymore. The best 2 years of my life. The promise of growing old together, gone. He loves me, except when I step on his serenity. My coping behaviors, formed in childhood, are interwoven in my present and two-step on his past. I showed him all of me. He showed me myself, and then he cried. He believes a part of him is broken and can never be fixed, that it is not salvageable. I don't believe that. I believe our greatest challenges show up as the last piece of our puzzle that come in God's time, not ours. The choice is to accept the challenge or shrink from it. I believe the time is now, to grow, to learn, to truly forgive. It's time to let it all go, to be in the moment, sitting in the rocking chairs on the porch, just brushing our dog. I still want my happy ending. Blake Shelton's song, Austin, haunts me. Anybody know the song? Blake Shelton's song, Austin, haunts me. Austin leaves her man and goes back to Austin. A year later, we can only surmise with much deep inner work, she calls him. His machine picks up, which is a nice timestamp for some of us, with usual message stuff. If you're calling about the car it sold, Tuesday night he's bowling, and he's not buying what you're selling. Anyone else leave a message at the tone, and ending the message with, and P.S., if this is Austin, I still love you. My heart softens. A few days later, Austin calls him again. There's a new message with the same ending. This time he's going fishing, he's going to the lake, he's at the game. And P.S., if this is Austin, I still love you. My heart opens more. Maybe this is just a bump in a much longer road. Love can work out. Relationships can be salvaged, built stronger. I ask him, will our love story be like Austin? He is non-committal, although a tad of a bit encouraging. Could be, could be. We sit for a long time, not speaking, feeling each other's presence as only genuine lovers can. Finally, breaking the silence, I ask him, who am I, Austin or the man? Without blinking, he responds, the man. And all these years, I was scared to death to become my mother. And next, thank you. Something last. Next is Deborah Machowski. Thank you.
Oh, and anybody can use the music stands and use it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I don't need it. I have just 2 poems to read. So this first one is called Gravity's Pull. Everything softens with time. Gravity gently pulls me home. Time slows down. Memories are easily from last week or over a decade ago. Recently has lost its meaning. I walk on the earth feeling dried leaves, small rocks, snow and ice through the soles of my shoes, as if my feet were naked, shoeless, more connected to the world around me. There is difficulty in waking up, being ready on time, holding space for lateness. We walk together down the dirt road. Our words are of this moment. Grown children, creative practices, excitement over new ideas. Uphill we move together, but separate. For the wanting to give up, perpetual grieving for those we love, who have moved from the now to the forever. They exist in our hearts and minds, only changing as we change. When the everyday walk feels too long, we shorten it, listening to the tiredness inside ourselves, honoring what is enough for the now of today, pausing as we ease our way towards the reality outside ourselves. And the second one, this is called peer pressure. I drew my fingers lightly across your lips, tracing what you had just said. I was so close to your dark eyes. The sparkle in them lit our corners of the room. All your facial imperfections danced before me, and I smiled as we talked. You had a smoothness to your nose, as if it had been sculpted out of clay after your face grew into itself. Someone had cruelly judged your outer beauty, put you in a place of darkness, took away some of your confidence, made you choose the knife to fit in. You no longer care about such things. Decades have passed. Now we come together on our own terms. We meet in a place we grew into, of acceptance and love. There was a crack in my heart, such deep sorrow that you were ever made to feel this low. You looked so much like your father. I think I loved you both. When I saw a before picture of you, I could see how the puzzle of your face fit together perfectly. This is how I see you, even when I look closely. I smile and laugh, as do you. Up next is Kitty Keeper.
Hello. The topic was salvage, and I kept thinking about it ever since I got the prompt, and I could never remember it. So I thought, well, maybe salvage is really all about editing. So I edited. And these are two poems about July. And here we are in July. So today, the smell of milkweed blooming was overpowering. Sweetness and soft air touching my nostrils, rich in pollen, nectar, hanging and full. Everywhere the dogs and I walked in the humid air between downpours, no breeze, air full of water. We were wet with mist. I don't really know what dew point means, but it might mean the point when dew forms and drops to the grass in a moment. The dogs tongue off the blades and swallow and drink while walking. Our feet are soaked. Another downpour. Darkness begins. Mist like frosting rises on the sides of the barns and trees, diminishing as the light does, then vanishing darker. Suddenly and all at once, fireflies, lots of fireflies, the air filled with the sweetness of perfume, and now sparkles. I can't stand it. It's too beautiful for words. Then the next one is also about now. One night. It's hard to describe that thunder and lightning storm on Saturday night. The air was very humid. Mist and light rain were falling. It was dark. We were sitting on the porch because the umbrella coming up from the center of the glass-top table was saturated and beginning to leak. Fireflies were starting to emerge from the ferns and the lawn and the grasses on the hillside under the rock maples. Fireflies were rising the way they do when they begin their flights, their evening of lights and show. The rain became more and more, volume of water and volume of sound. Lightning flashed. We counted until the rumble. The storm was 5 or 8 miles away. This was mostly heat lightning, like flash bulbs lighting the whole sky. Bolts of lightning, streaks of blaring light, lighting the darkness. The fireflies kept on, more and more, lighting the air close to us and around us. Rain sounds, the volume increased as the water became more and more in waves. Water racing off the metal roofs from the porch and the house roof above the porch. Lines of light from the sky, blasts of thunder. The fireflies sank back into the ferns and lawn and grass, heavy and saturated. The rain flooded the roof and the leaking gutters. Rain splashed on the pea stones around the table and in front of the porch. I collapsed the umbrella, cranking it down while getting soaked. Bolts of lightning, booms and cracks. Immediately the storm was on us. You told me how on the farm where you grew up, a strike, just as we had, killed 21 cows standing together under a maple tree. One strike, 21 dead. We reminisced how our parents told us to stay out of drafts during these storms. We shut the door to the kitchen so the draft touching us from the outside through the open door to the rest of the house stopped. The mosquitoes came. I lit 2 citronella candles and put them by our feet. Lightning struck the hill above us twice in succession. Thunder cracked immediately, twice. Rain jetted out again from the roof, completely missing the gutters. We backed our chairs to the wall of the porch against the house, the mist exploding and shattered raindrops soaking my face and legs. Then the storm moved away, up the hill, quietly. The fireflies began again to rise from the ferns and the lawn and the grasses on the hillside. I made some hot milk. You poured a glass of bourbon. We toasted the beauty of it all. Storm, sounds, friendship. A gift accepted. Oh, I keep forgetting this part. Donna Welton is next. Sorry, Donna.
That's no problem. I'm Donna Welton, and I brought a folder of salvageable poems that I found when I moved, but I'm only going to read one. Lucky for everyone. It's a sestina. Sestina is a hard form. It has 6 stanzas and an envoy of 3 lines, 6 stanzas of 6 lines, and they all end in the same word, but in different orders. Sounds complicated. You don't have to worry about that, but if you're thinking about it while you're listening to me, you can listen for the words. Poem's called Garden State. It happens every time between New Brunswick and the Garden State. The turnpike's approximation of the Bermuda Triangle. I'm traveling 65, 70, and the cars are passing me by like I'm not even moving. Relativity hits home. I'm lost in time and speed. A verisimilitude of motion, because I haven't come from anywhere yet, I can't turn back. Then the sun goes down, gravity takes over, and hold on, there's the airport. The turnpike's haunted, that's easy to see. Hungry ghosts from Manhattan circling the airport, the sheep up from New Brunswick searching for the meadowlands. It's quite a state. The preternatural swamps and refinery pheromones always brings me back to the time my first husband tried to kill us Christmas Day, triangulating at 90 miles per hour the distance between him and me. The speed was hardly justified. It was Metuchen after all. We forgot the presents for his family moving apart. He even went to school in New Brunswick, but this story isn't moving me quite like it used to. He's way off the turnpike in Booton. Now, how I got to the airport is a far more interesting question. Inertia is not the word of the day, so caution advised, reduce speed, toll booth ahead. I'd meant to keep on, 14C and beyond, past the Statue of Liberty, a ball of our modern state, and Hoboken it to the Holland Tunnel, all those cars waiting to board the swan boats, tunnel of my first love triangle, me, the city, and New Jersey. But it's too late. At this time of day, there's no turning back. I'm caught in a vicious circle, Continental, Terminals A, B, long-term parking, but back of an Anheuser brewery truck. I seize the opportunity to escape, moving into its tailwind, out onto routes 1 and 9, drawn to its magnetic talisman triangle, A. This truck suddenly disappears, consumed by a steaming hop spog at the airport. Here's to a beautiful, I think. This tarmac beckons to state the obvious. With the residual centrifugal force, though, I'm picking up speed. For the long curve over Elizabeth, high above the blue loading cranes bidding Godspeed and adieu, I'm cruising somewhat below the flight pattern when the Hanjin arrows point me back to the turnpike. After this out-of-body experience, no further altered state for me, thank you. I've had quite enough already. So stop the shoulders from moving. Put the skyway down. I don't want to remember tear gas like some invisible sorrow drifting over the airport in Korea as students take pickaxes to the traffic triangle for the paving stones. I don't want to tell you how one learns early on that S is a triangle in Hangul, while the riot police are never too far out of the question. We're at anecdotal speed. The torsion of 40 miles per hour on a Hanjin trailer. Sealand didn't work out of Incheon. I left that airport in full azaleas and I was pregnant. Meanwhile, I managed to recapitulate back to New Jersey, just ahead of IKEA, furnishing the world with a moving excuse. Everything flat in pallets and self-assemblies, a commentary on the sorry state of things if I ever saw one. Over the harbor, a triangle is looming, the yield sign. I'm back where I started, speed at a standstill, only BMWs moving. It must be an effect of the pampas grass. It's all over Kearney and the airport, out by the sign that says, "Welcome to the Garden State." Deborah Phelps.
I'm just going to read a short poem. Today is the second anniversary of the passing of my dad. He was 96. He'd be 98 this year. He was a proud Navy man, so I wear his pin. And when they came to take his body, they left an angel on the pillow.
Can you speak up a little?
When they came to take my dad, they left an angel on the pillow, so I wear both every year. And my dad, his name was Merrill Topping Hildreth, which are three last names. Merrill was his maternal grandmother's maiden name. Topping was his paternal grandmother's maiden name, and then Hildreth was his dad's last name. And I write acrostic poetry, so this is an acrostic that I wrote about my dad, which means that, well, the way I write them is every word in sequence spells Merrill Topping Hildreth. Measured, even-handed, reasonable, rarely adversarial, listening lightly, trustworthy, open-minded, personable, perpetually impressive, nice guy, helpful, intuitive, likable, dutiful, respected, exemplary, truly humble. And my dad was called Smiley in the Navy. He smiled all the time, and he ran a general store, was postmaster, and every time he delivered groceries, he'd come home with a chair or a clock or something that some person needed fixing, and no one would fix it for them. And at night, go down and fix it and take it back next time he delivered groceries. So he was likable and kind.
Yeah.
I introduced Ted Phelps.
We're also taken with that. I knew Merrill Topping Hildreth for half my life. Every letter was correct. This is called Is It Salvageable? If you were here last time, I'm actually taking as a prompt the funny piece I did last time. Remember how last week Todd and Marcia clicked off their Zoom session with Dr. Nia and went in for a soapy shower? It's all the buzz here in mortgages. So, as we now know, this was their third month doing these marriage salvage sessions once a week for 50 minutes. Started as a sort of anniversary gift to themselves back in April, the day after their 8th, and Dr. Nia had helpfully noted 8 is one more than 7, by which she meant they had made it past the famous 7-year itch, and that was surely something they could celebrate. Well, today, Todd had apparently then noted that the 8th was bronze, whatever that might bring up. And Marcia had said that the 7th was wool, which fit for itch. And that was honestly quite a good one. And once their laughter had subsided, you have to visualize this, the 3 of them in their own offices at 2 p.m., spread across the continent, Todd and Marcia in their own separate offices a floor apart here in our downtown Boston banking tower, and Dr. Nia in where out San Francisco. So, after their laughter about the wool and the 7-year itch had sighed down to an awkward silence, Marcia decided to get what she was paying for. Not sure why, Dr. Nia, but bronze just somehow brings up the image of an oiled naked butt tanning in the sands of Saint-Tropez. Is it just me, or how about you, Todd? Remind you of anything bronze on Christina and second mortgages? Doctor, she tagged my dear husband with it just last Friday, pasting a wish you were here and not just Tahiti Beach. No, her 5 ringless fingers gesturing oh so alluringly at her naked crack. See what I'm dealing with, Doctor? And Todd, I guess, had protested Christina wasn't naked. She had a thing on, and Dr. Nia had then paused and, can I just interject here? Because this is good. We're getting a lot out. And I just want to say that, Todd, you said Christina had a thing on. I think you meant a thong on. Is that right? You know, just so I can visualize, right? Lovely, lovely. Todd, anything more? Any details? And Todd shrugged. He was pulled back now from the camera, sitting on his roller chair. Nia saw him as a silhouette against the downtown skyline, the July sun jabbing through the towers in the west and making her dream of being on the beach herself, her own thong the center of attraction. That's another story, and she has work to do. Now, what work? We should know. Marcia was the one who had applied for Nia's soapy salvage shop after a quiet, as in sexless, Valentine's evening with Todd last winter, and this was before the whole Bronze Christina business was even on the table, on the beach, on their marriage bed, more is the point. Marcia chose Dr. Nia Nguyen from a depressingly long list of marriage salvage therapists. Chose Nia probably because of the TripAdvisor ratings, and yep, but then the quality of her interactive website. She even has a private app that clients use to chat and compare. Salvageable something, not the .com, which is for cars, but one of those new TLDs, maybe .nest, something implying marriage is a precious container and often the only one we have left in a country being eaten by wolves and the ice caps coming down. Nia has kept her practice fresh for the times all these past 22 years. Your marriage home, she writes, might be a war zone. Your question for me will be, is it salvageable? To answer that, she puts you in her 12-month program on Zoom, where you have to be in separate rooms, but hopefully near enough to take what she calls identically at the end of each session, a soapy shower together. Which reminds us of that shocking session last week when Dr. Nia had them doing that speed dating role that surprised even her, how quickly Todd and Marcia ground each other down into some dark and sexy places. Murder would not be too strong a word for it. Confessing their priors with their priors. All fake, we're thinking here in First Mortgages. Todd and Marcia famously ran down to the ladies' lockers, all the while breathlessly trading dirty made-up bits of crime and abuse. Then, once they were well soaped up and closely wrapped in a private stall, Todd whispered into Marcia's slithery concha. Calm down, that's Latin for the opening. to her ear. So Todd whispered into her hungry, hopeful, slithery, and cute little concha and reportedly said of his sentencing, "Went in for 10. And then she said, "Out in 7. Sounds like you." And he took it well. I mean, good salvaging there. Judging from what we heard from the 4 p.m. joggers in Third Mortgage who came in just in time for the climax. Yeah, that Dr. Nia's soaked up sex life salvage shop. Next week, ladies' lockers on the Cape. Keep it clean. Click to subscribe. Miss Jenny Clark.
So, hi. I'm Jenny Clark, and I was very lucky to be given classical piano lessons as a child, all the way up through the first year of college. I excelled probably around 12 or 13, but then I kind of fell behind once I got into high school out of sheer neglect of discipline, and that continued for quite a while. I also had a tendency to play a little too melodramatically, which was not good. So I've learned a lot in the process. But as I entered adulthood, with so much else to do, I completely dropped it. But now that adulthood is over and behind me, and I have more time for fun, I started lessons again in January, as did Kimball. And little by little, the lessons are with a really great jazz piano teacher. Little by little, I'm learning the easiest sheets in the classic fake book that he gave me. And he, over time, this great teacher, has encouraged me to write down as well as play what I see, but to do some composing. So I started to write, and here's my first piece, which I've dedicated to the people of Ukraine. And the second is an eclectic mash note. And as usual, we have no piano, which may change, who knows? Maybe we can install one at the new home. So I have recorded myself on my little piano at home, my nice non-electronic piano, and I'm going to play air piano for you.
evening, everybody. So I did this piece about 3 years ago after quite a traumatic breakup with someone that I loved very much. And when I saw the theme, Salvageable, I usually live from the perspective that everything is salvageable. And so I did in that relationship. And but when I saw the theme, I thought of this piece, and I was like, wow, this was something that wasn't salvageable. And it hit me. So I'm writing this from the perspective of my partner. It made me feel better to write this after the breakup because I thought if I could imagine how he might be thinking of me, it would make me feel better. So I will be speaking from his perspective via my imagination. And I have tried to memorize this, but I have my little notes right here. So I wondered how long that well had been dry. I nearly passed it, but when I looked down, the dust on my shoe had settled into some obscure shape. So I sat. I thought of her. She had cried a lot. She laughed a lot too. But she would do this thing where she would curl up on the edge of the bed in all fetal-like position and cast shadows of a grim future. I remember how it paralyzed her, how it had paralyzed me. I wished the house needed painting, or the car needed fixing, or the dishes maybe needed to be done. She left last spring, right before the crocuses bloomed. And she never looked back as I sat, staring all the while, wondering how long she had been dry and thirsty like this well. Maybe she had wrung herself out on me like the dish rag that lay on our sink. I never stepped in to absorb her tears or her laughter. You know, there's that old Bible story of Mary and Jesus by the well. Mary's pulling up a bucket of water. And Jesus comes walking by and says, "Hey, I have this kind of water that you know nothing about. Come and follow me." She drops the bucket and follows the guy. Maybe Christ, maybe Jesus walked by me that day that she left. She had said her tears were for the drinking, that they would water my earth so that spring would come again. I didn't believe her. Steve Mo.
That's good.
That's
perfect.
What's your last name?
Mole.
Okay. Making sure I said it right.
Well, I'm from Pittsfield, and over in Pittsfield and in North Adams, it's Mole, and sometimes around here it's Mole. So depends on where I'm at. So I'm from Pittsfield, and where I live on the bottom of Sunset Street, I could look up the hill. There was a house up on the hill that always had a light burning at night. So one night I was having a couple beers by my shed and the brook and the ducks in the brook, and I wrote Light on the Hill. And I also wrote, I want to be a Maillard when I die. I might sing that one next week. But this is Light on the Hill. There's a light on the hill, and it's calling me still, calling me home. It's a beacon of hope, it's a beacon of peace, calling me still. I've been away for a while, I left there in style, I lost my fortune along the way. Now I'm heading back home to that light on the hill, calling me still. Light on the hill is calling me still, calling me home. It's a beacon of hope, it's a beacon of peace, calling me still. There's an empty old chair out by the shed, I can talk to whoever I want. I can talk to my mother, I can talk to my father, can even talk to my son. There was word of him on the 6 o'clock news, they said he was lost in the war. Well, there has to be a better way besides killing and killing some more. Light on the hill is calling me still, it's calling me home. It's a beacon of hope, it's a beacon of peace, calling me still. They said it might rain in the valley today, a good day for staying inside. Put that needle down on that old 45. We'll dance, we'll both play the clown. Light on the hill is calling me still, calling me home. It's a beacon of hope, it's a beacon of peace, calling me still.
Thank you, Steve. So I am going to talk about salvaging my singing voice. After listening to Steve, I don't know if I have much of a prayer, but I grew up on street corner doo-wop and girl groups, but also on Eartha Kitt and Ella and Peggy Lee. The Great American Songbook was my Bible, and singing felt like the 11th commandment. Thou shalt know all the lyrics to every song in the top 40. Spend as much time as possible fantasizing about yourself purring into a microphone in a smoky jazz club, or belting out an Ethel Merman showstopper in front of the bedroom mirror. We all sang all the time. Consider the miracle of the human singing voice. My body and yours are wondrously constructed so that the muscles of the larynx respond by means of telekinesis, adjusting the length and tension of the vocal cords to produce a tune that seconds before only existed in our imaginations. I can make that happen. Abracadabra, a word from the Aramaic meaning I will create as I speak. Abracadabra, the tune pours out into the world exactly as it sounded inside my head. Down a minor third and back up again, and there you have it. Summertime, Your mind and your body are making time with Gershwin. You are Dorothy Dandridge, at least in the shower. You don't need a keyboard or a capo or a trumpet mute. All you need is the breath that you were born with, and you can make music. Damn. Breath is all there is in the end, so everyone is just inhaling and exhaling together, sustaining the life of the world in this moment as it has always done. The lilies are breathing. The foxes are breathing. When you think about it, singing is the essential spiritual offering, the original language. Think chant, think hymns in church, and blues in the fields. A quick review of the research indicates that singing helps to lower stress, boost immunity and lung function, enhance memory, improve mental health, and cope with physical and emotional pain. In the nursing homes where I used to work, the dementia patients on the memory unit knew all the words to all the old songs. And singing is free. This strikes me as the practice I've been searching for, the medicine that could elevate my consciousness out of the heart of darkness where it's been crouching these last years and onto the sunny side of the street. You can see me there in 1966, my last year of college, peering into the distance singing, "What a day for a daydream," even though I had no idea what a loving spoonful was. You can see my daddy, rotund and twinkly-eyed, some Father's Day long ago, marching around the red linoleum in the kitchen singing the World War I song, "Pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile, smile, smile." We practice singing as an antidote to fear and despair. A little soft shoe wouldn't hurt. In my 20s, I actually took lessons with an Italian tenor in my mother's building. He had me doing all the usual vocal exercises and seemed to see me in Puccini, even though all I ever wanted was Gypsy and summer stock. I was a skinny thing with a big voice who thought she was Ethel, but 50 years later, the music doesn't come out of my mouth the way I hear it inside my head anymore. It creaks and cracks. Like the rest of my body, my vocal cords have shrunk and shriveled with age. They don't tell you about these things, these minor inconveniences. They don't tell you that if you plan to sing a cappella in public at the age of 76, you better scope out the first notes lest your voice end up banshee screeching or vanishing into the lower register later in the song. It's like taking the wrong exit off the BQE. Once you're lost, you're lost. But what if I once was lost, but now I'm found? And what if singing in these more desperate and more self-aware times isn't merely an antidote, but another way to experience what life has been serving up for all of us, a way to engage the fear and despair, and most of all, a way for me to enjoy myself. Maybe I can dig deep into my fake book, can't believe that fake book was mentioned twice in one, and retrieve the music that's been looking for me at this time in my life. Some days I'll ask Billy, "Am I blue? You be too." But some days I might just go for it. I might get down with Judy and forget your troubles, come on, get happy. Come on, get happy. We're waiting for the judgment day. And Jeannie Bassis.
Woohoo! I gotta rearrange all the furniture here. They might not want to start that yet. We don't need this. We don't need this. We need this. Don't need that. Hi, iWow crowd. So, I really hadn't paid attention to what the theme was tonight. Salvaging? Is that it? Salvaging. Well, this thing I'm going to play was definitely is salvaging for me. So I didn't even know it was the theme. What can I say? When I started writing songs about 11 or 12 years ago now, I had no idea, because I'd always loved music and loved other people's songs, but I had no idea what it meant to have songs that I created that could help me do my life. So this is called I Declare. Should I go get my water bottle? I'm going to get my water bottle. Sorry, guys. I got to just take a slurp. You know, singing makes you thirsty, and if you're thirsty before you start, you're in trouble. Okay. There's a lot of us here. Oh, and the last line is your part. You'll catch on. And there he goes. Gotta find it first. I declare who I am, and way back when we're over there. Old beliefs cast aside, I'm ready for the ride. I declare your part. There, I declare. You got it? I declare. Every moment's new, like the old saying goes. To thine own self be true. I declare what sets me free. Lives deep down inside of me. I declare. I declare. I tell you what, it's like this. Love is the key. Love keeps raining down on me. I declare I do belong. I'm strong in my soul. I declare, my body, my home, no one's really alone. My light shines brighter when I breathe the open air. I declare, my light shines brighter when I breathe the Berkshire air. I declare, I am thrilled and delighted that I'm remembering to introduce the incredible Frank Gioia. Woo!
Hi. So I'm Frank, and I'm going to read a story from my book, I've started to read it backwards. So I'm going to read number 34. It's called He Was the First. And it's a story about my friend John, who I loved. And all the guys loved him. And all the girls loved him too. Merchandising was not something I knew anything about. Not until I met up with Jojo and Anne-Marie again. I hadn't seen them since the summer I joined the Halsey Bops. I stared, actually leered at them, and could smell their sex in the humid heat. They smiled, killer smiles. But in an instant, it was all business. Jojo purred. The red ones are 50 cents. The orange ones, 3 for $2. Down 2 with half a bottle of cough medicine and mimic the white magic. It sounded good. It was cheaper than a $5 bag. And you didn't have to take a bus to Williamsburg to score. Plus, you could say, fuck you to the cops who were looking to bust your sweet ass, and the spics who wanted a taste. Walking away, I wondered if maybe, just maybe, we could get high together and lay our heads on each other's shoulders. Donnie drove. Tony's older brother. We let him hang out with us because he had a license and a red and black 53 Buick. Tony and I were partners. Your partner was someone you shared your drugs with, your money and your secrets with. The person you trusted to take care of you if anything went wrong. The person who would call your mother if it came to that. We hugged and kissed like Sicilian cousins, and only Tony's father thought we were fags. We took the Grand Central to Alley Pond Park, down 2 Seconals, and shared a bottle of Robitussin AC, settling into the leather for another night among the suburban kids making out to the sounds of Little Anthony. In minutes, the drugs sent me spiraling into a deep nod. Nodding is like dreaming, except there is no plot. Nothing substantive. I opened my eyes 5 hours later, unaware that I had lost another day from my life. I wiped the 3-inch-long Lucky Strike ash from between my burned orange fingers, peed, and scratched my pancake-colored skin until the blood slowly seeped back into my veins. A still stoned Donnie let me drive the Buick to the diner on 110th Street and Atlantic Avenue. The sudden glare of the grimy overhead lights forced my eyes to focus, and the scene was bleak. The snake pit came to mind. John and Eugene were at a corner booth, looking like they were ready to be autopsied. Eugene scratching his scrawny face until the pimples on his cheeks bled to match the vinyl. John, just minutes removed from shooting up, with a vacant stare on his ghost-like face, mindlessly stirring a steady stream of sugar into his coffee, while the streaming liquid ran over the cup, across the red Formica table, over his balls, down his leg, and onto the checkerboard tiled floor. Earlier that night, they had run into a nickel bag at the pool room. Not content with just being stoned, they had cooked behind the diner and booted up under a lamppost. John, especially, was always looking to raise the bar. Stoned was never high enough. He always wanted to get totally wasted. When word of a cough medicine, downs, and junk cocktail got around, it became the choice of anyone looking to fly off into another world. Unfortunately, it left many of the guys without a return ticket home. That winter, John and Eugene began dealing a selection of ups and downs to support their worsening heroin habits. They also continued to mix and match drugs, like choosing dishes from columns A and B. On a frigid December night, they settled into John's '57 Pontiac to shoot a bag of junk that looked like brown sugar. We found them the following morning as their skin color turned from white to blue and black. A collection of pills, red ones and orange ones, glowed against the car's black shag carpeting. We rolled them in the snow, rubbed ice on their balls, and smacked them silly, but only Eugene shivered in the 10-degree cold. John Ferrara was the first guy I knew to wear a sports jacket for no apparent reason. No wedding or funeral to go to, but just because he thought it was cool. We were 12. He was the first guy on our block to get a blowjob. He got cum on his blue school pants, and he wore them like a badge. He noticed that Rocky always giggled when he shot pool, and he found out why. The next weekend, 5 of us crouched under a blanket in Rock's apartment and got high on grass for the first time. From the beginning, as young kids playing stickball, everyone wanted to be his best friend, including me. In the winter of our 19th year, he died. He was the first.